Welcome to BS session 127. I didn't think of anything funny this week. They can't always be winners.
This right here has the ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, ballistically speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.
We are live.
When it's looking that close to the apocalypse, I couldn't say anything funny. There's so much smoke around right now.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's pretty crazy.
'Tis the season.
Some of us are more live than others. Some of us are sitting at home on our fake backgrounds, and some of us are sitting out in the middle of the BC wilderness waiting for a bear to walk by.
Well, I'm not hopeful for a bear at my position here, but I picked up Starlink just so we could do this podcast, and it's first time using it. We'll see what happens. If one does come by and it looks good, I'll see if I can figure out how to turn the mic off, and I'll let you know how it works out.
No.
Yeah,
Don't turn the mic off. We want to digest every moment of that.
I'll keep you guys on in for the ride.
There'd be a lot of jealousy in that moment, I think.
Yeah. Unless you're using a bow, then we don't care.
Yeah. No, I got a rifle.
Well, let's ask the question. What are you hunting with?
Sacco 90. There you go. Sacco 90 Peak. I got a Tangent Theta Hunter on the thing. It's I like it. It's nice, lightweight, good scope.
You couldn't afford
MDT
something
rings.
better, eh?
What's that?
I said you couldn't afford something better than that.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you got to slum it. It's just
Yeah, right. Eh?
Entry-level Seiko, huh?
yeah. I got in crap for calling it. I've called it Seiko my entire life, and I was in their factory. Like, no, it's called Sacco. You got to call it Sacco. So I'm like, okay, I'll call it Sacco.
Oh, they get upset about that?
Well, no, but they did correct me. Not
Oh,
called
that's interesting.
Seiko. Yeah.
It reminds me of the first time we went to SHOT Show and we were at the Aguila booth, and there was this little Texas girl. I only saw her the 1 year. She must not have lasted too long with them, but she was trying to explain to everyone how to properly say the word eagle in Spanish, which obviously is Aguila. And I can't remember what, I'm saying it the way she was saying it. She was saying Aguila. And she was making sure that everybody knew that's the proper way to pronounce it. And it's not, it's Aguila, but the whole show, she was all about Aguila and correcting everybody. And we got her on camera saying it, and it was quite the ordeal.
You're fired.
Yeah, but you can't blame a person from Texas though, like a blonde girl from Texas that doesn't have a good Spanish pronunciation. Is that really a rare thing?
That's funny.
Should we ask our resident Spaniard how to actually say it? Maybe it's Aguila.
No, there's only one L.
Nancy.
Yeah, but there's only one L.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Whatever. All these companies and there's crazy names. You got Lapua, you got Seiko Sacco, you got Aguila, you got man, everybody.
One I love is Leopold. I've spent an entire life.
Yeah, Leopold.
And you get I don't know. They're not purists. I think they're just, people with things stuck in their bum.
We just like to argue about stupid things.
Leopold.
It's Leopold. Carbine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it depends what side of the border you're on.
Carbine. Yeah. Anyway, Mike, let's pay some bills.
Yeah, we should. We are brought to you tonight by Callsign 66, Canada's best rifle training. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Book a course now at callsign66.ca and follow them on Instagram at callsign66, all in one word, and on Facebook at C/S66. They have their 4-day combined fundamentals course coming up August 1 to 4th. So if you want to get in on that, check them out.
Also brought to you by Ribstone Gunsmithing, craftsmanship done right. Contact Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back into any firearm. Oscar also has a new book out titled Rust Bluing in the 21st Century. Find it on Amazon. That's Rust Bluing in the 21st Century.
I love you guys. You're like Jekylls and Hydes. You know, your ad read voices are different than your real-time live voices.
That is absolutely not true. I talk like this all the time.
Call sign
I'm
66.
Ron Burgundy.
What's that?
I was just saying, call sign 66. That's a good company. I like Miles. He's a good dude, and he definitely runs a good program over there. I didn't know he was a sponsor. His company was a sponsor of the program. That's a good one to have on board.
Yeah, we're lucky to have had him sponsoring us for quite a while. Yeah.
He's a good dude.
He and Carrie and Cappy. They're also that we might as well go right into this. They are also Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Order coffee and merchandise at boltactioncoffee.com. And I left one guy out of that, and that's Rob Nibbs is also involved in Bolt Action Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys, I skipped the order a little bit, but
it's okay. You also skipped your announcer voice, so I'm very disappointed.
Okay, I'll try better next time.
Okay.
And we're also brought to you by Marsh Scopes Canada. The Dion Optical Design line of rifle scopes has a scope for all your hunting and shooting needs. Find Doug and Niza at marchscopes.ca.
Also, Apex Optics. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Check out all the fine competition rifle scopes, red dots, and binoculars at apexoptics.co. And just a quick note, Apex is a tariff-proof Canadian and international...
Let's get it out.
Might have... I'm just saying that might have been typed poorly. Apex is tariff-proof. Canadian and international orders shipped direct from their Calgary warehouse, and American orders shipped from the great state of Texas. No tariffs, no hassle.
EM Precision Rifles in Vegreville, Alberta, building Canada's finest precision rifles. Find Shane and Steve on Facebook, Instagram, and on their website at emprifles.ca. Yes, folks, it's that easy.
And also brought to you by Odell Engineering. Pick up a Canuck shotgun, Bergera rifle, and Apex ammunition from your local distributor and tell them Phil sent you. And Derek just released his cinematic review of the Canuck Wrangler. Go on and check that out on our YouTube channel.
That's going to be up for some award, I'm sure of it.
We're putting in for the Toronto Film Festival.
What I want to know, when he was filming that, how long was he just standing on that damn road waiting for a couple of deer to come onto the road so he could film them for 5 seconds?
Sometimes you just get lucky.
Maybe, but I just see him sitting there with like a bag of beef jerky and a bottle of water and just hours in the silence doing nothing, waiting for deer to cross the gravel road.
What have I done with my life?
That's exactly how he did it.
I bet that is exactly how he did it. Anyway, we're also brought to you by Sterling Arms International, home of the R18 Mark III. I refuse to give up on it, so I'm announcing it. And the R9, still available in stores. Contact them at sterlingarms.com. If you're looking for retailers, they have a list of retailers that they're shipping to on the website. And you can look out for the R9 arriving at stores in and out constantly near you. They are being shipped out to dealers on a regular basis now. They are ramping up, I think. I don't know the exact numbers. I probably shouldn't say because I don't know how accurate these are, but I think that they're ramping up to like 200 to 300 units a week. And they should be kind of hitting that target sometime in June, I'm guessing. So if you are looking for an R9, and I know a lot of people are, because they're like, stores are still pre-selling them before they even get on the shelves. So if you are, contact your local store, find your closest dealer on the website, contact them, put one aside, because it might be the only way that you're getting one. There are some other stores every once in a while I hear that have them here and there, which is kind of nice to see. They get to keep them on the shelves for a week, but a lot of your bigger retailers are in and out. So check them out anyway, sterlingarms.com.
Excellent. I want to give one honorable mention to Venables Machine Works in Saskatoon here. I got them to machine
A vacuum hose
my
extension.
yes, nailed it. Rainbow quality products. No, it's a bipod extension for the XLR chassis that I'm using this year in ELR. So it's in the raw right now. And if you recall the XLR chassis, they're a tube chassis. So I'm extending the bipod out another 13 inches just in behind the muzzle brake. Anyway, my own little design, and Venables Machine Works in Saskatoon machined it for me.
I thought that was just an industrial strength shoehorn you wanted Picatinny on.
That's right. Yeah.
Picatinny shoehorn kind of sounds like a country band.
It probably
There's
is.
the XLR.
When did that arrive?
Oh, I've had it all winter. Just
bring that closer to the camera. What is that? Is there a pattern on that color, or is it just a color?
Well, it is. Good Lord.
His room isn't big enough.
It's red with some black, kind of worn black on it. I don't know.
That's a nice looking little unit, hey?
Tough to show. But
saw the EM Precision logo there.
Yes, you did.
Now is
all
that
rifles are built by EM?
Is that barrel thicker diameter than the last one?
It might be. It's about the same. Let me check. Out at the muzzle, it's 1.25 inches. So it's about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, you bet. So
well,
this is the sucker here that I'm using for ELR.
It should do long bangs.
And then bipod extension gets it out here.
So are you going to have? Yeah. Are you going to have the extension colored the same as the chassis?
Oh, well, I haven't decided yet. I'm a little bit of an anarchist when it comes to pretty things. I don't necessarily like pretty things, so Steve's going to be mad at me because I think I'm just going to go black.
Can you just possibly rephrase that for a moment, considering that your wife is listening to the show right now? I saw her log in and say hi.
Good catch. She knows better.
Okay, good. So you like one pretty little thing, but not other pretty little things. Okay.
100%.
Right. So we can look forward to like pink with purple polka dots on that extension then.
Not a damn chance.
Okay.
No.
All right. Fair enough. So, Mike, take it away, man.
You're at a loss for words.
My whole brain just shut down.
It happens.
Yeah.
So as a guest today, we are honored to have the venerable Travis Bader with us from Silvercore Outdoors, who is currently actually outdoors for those who are watching on video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I filled a bear tag earlier last week, and a friend wanted to go and get a bear, and so I'm giving him some little bit of help, and he's a few kilometers away from me right now. I figured I'd set up in a place where I wouldn't disturb things too much. But yeah, I'm just sitting up on the hillside. I'm watching a section of land which has got a lot of sign in it. It gives me about 100 meters to 250 meters of range where if a bear were to come through, it would likely come in that area. So I don't know. We might get a bear in this episode.
Excellent.
I was excited when we were talking about bringing you on, but I'm even more excited that there's the potential that we're just going to watch you hunt for a couple of minutes.
I'm a little excited about that as well, too. I just love being out here.
Wonderful.
So I guess we would kick things off with just Travis, introduce yourself a little bit for the few people that don't know who you are, because I'm pretty sure almost everyone knows of you at least.
I don't know about that, but I've got a company called Silvercore Outdoors. I started the company essentially when I was in high school, and so I've been doing it for a while, and got a podcast called the Silvercore Podcast. I got the name, terrible name really, if you want to tell people what you're doing. Ballistically speaking, there's a descriptor in there. People know what they're getting into, right? Silvercore, no one knows what that is. But my grandfather, Silver, was a Vancouver police detective. My other grandfather, Cornelius, was an entrepreneur. Took the silver and the core, made a portmanteau, put them together.
Is that where that comes from?
Yeah.
Because Silvercore, like it fits, you know, like
Absolutely.
with,
people think, well, is it like silver, like the lead is silver colored and the bullet and it's the core, and like I hear all sorts of things, but no, it's just I just took two names, put them together.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
it worked.
So
yeah, that's kismet right there.
Kismet, I love it. So we do online training, in-person training. For a long time, actually, I did Silvercore Gunworks when I was just out of high school, and did a lot of gunsmithing for the general public. And then I did BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario for a large multinational organization doing their annual repair and maintenance. And at one point, every armored car company in BC, I was doing their guns for, and then extended work for a few municipal police agencies. And government agencies. So that's a little bit of everything, a little bit of ADHD sprinkled all over the place, and just have fun with it.
I prefer to call it just having a wide variety of interests.
Oh, hey, I'll go with that. I mean, you look at my hobbies; it's a wide variety.
That's great, but they're all tied in though. That's the difficult part, is making everything tie together.
Somewhat. I mean, paragliding, because I like to be outside, so I'll jump off a mountain and get myself down, or scuba diving, or spear fishing. I mean, everything's kind of tied into the outdoors, I guess, to a degree.
Yeah, there you
To
go.
a degree.
Yeah, the bear hunting while paragliding might not mesh exactly.
Right.
It sounds like a lot of fun though.
Yeah, they say no drones, no helicopter, but I don't know if the regs say no paragliding. I think you're onto something.
I think you'll put that Sacco to the test. That's for sure.
There you go. There you go.
Wait, are you sure it's not Seiko?
I'm not doing this again, Mike.
No.
There is a correct way to say everything.
Yeah.
I agree with Silvercore here. Meh. Travis is right.
But if I'm glancing away, it's just because I'm watching a side where a bear might come on through. So it's not that you don't have my undivided attention. It's every once in a while I'll just kind of look over.
Absolutely no problem.
You got to multitask somehow.
Always multitasking. Actually, that's why I love being outside, because it kind of just focuses the brain. You're listening to the sounds. You're feeling the different temperatures as they come on in. The smells, like, when there's ungulates by, you can smell them. It smells like a barnyard. Or if you're close enough to bear, you can smell them. It just kind of lights everything up and gets you laser focus. So is that multitasking, or is that being present? I don't know, but I enjoy it.
The answer is yes.
That brings up, exactly. That brings up an interesting thought. You know how they say that domestic hogs, if they're let loose into the wild, it takes 3 generations to get back to their wild form, look, and whatever.
Their hair will grow differently. Their teeth will grow differently.
Like,
and I don't even know if it's 3 generations. I was talking to Jesse Griffith about that, and he's written a book on hogs and does work with the Meat Eater crew, and he's just a plethora of information. But yeah, he was saying it might even be faster than that.
Is that
crazy?
Right?
That's crazy.
So it brought to mind for me, as you were talking, Travis, about being outdoors and all the smells and all that kind of stuff. I wonder how many generations it would take a man to get back to his wild form.
Couple weeks, I don't know.
Right,
on the man.
Exactly. Much shorter, I think.
6 months.
He may not have a direct answer to that question, but Travis was clean shaven before he went out on that bear hunt.
I was, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 3 days ago.
It's coming in very well formed for being out in the wild.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to do the little puff up because I don't know. You're out here, you're not looking at it, but I'm going to be on camera. I got to look somewhat presentable.
We always encourage preening, don't we?
Of course.
Hey, speaking of hogs, have you guys heard this thing that's going on? And Travis, you may or may not have heard about this. There's this argument going on between the Sask government and I forget who it was that was on the news.
Canadian
big
Wild
hog
Pig
hunter.
Research Project.
Yeah, the pig. Yeah, that's exactly it. And they're basically saying that that the wild pig population is not growing out of control in Saskatchewan, and that within the next couple of years they will have completely wiped out the wild population. And then there's this hog hunter guy that's been on the news from Sask that is basically calling them out on that, saying that's absolute garbage, and they're having this tete-a-tete back. Have you guys heard of it?
I haven't heard of that. No.
Nobody's heard of it. Am I the only one?
Hard to believe.
You might be the only one.
Am I the only one who reads the news these days, guys?
It sounds like both.
You may be.
Yeah, I think you might be.
I'm gonna.
But
look
they
it
were
up.
also saying that trapping is the only way to deal with them. Hunting them is almost pointless.
I know
Well,
it's
that's the conventional wisdom, right? Is that they populate the way because of being nocturnal, the way that they reproduce, it and how skittish they are and smart they are. You can't hunt them in large enough populations to really have any dent on their population. But this Sask organization was saying that it has to reach a critical mass before that happens, and it hasn't reached the critical mass, and they're confident that they're going to get the hogs all done in Saskatchewan, at least within the next couple of.
Why don't we ask the Europeans about that and how many?
Well, that was my thought. Like, ask the Europeans, ask the Texans.
What a ridiculous thing! Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know, because I have a little bit of background info on this. Is back, I believe it was in the early 90s. A lot of those European boars got brought over as like a second crop for farmers to make a little bit extra income, because I believe cattle prices were just in the tank. And eventually the bottom fell out of it. And then all of a sudden, a lot of fences just got left open. But in some areas, I know for a fact, they did actually hunt all of them out, and there aren't as many. There's like the odd one or two compared to the mass flood that you would expect to see. So I've seen it's possible to hunt them out, but it takes work.
To what degree, though, I wonder, because like we had that exact scenario that you described, Mike, out at the farm here, which is just southwest of the city, about an hour. And the neighbor, what the heck was he, 3-4 miles north? However it happened, a bunch of hogs got out and they reproduced like crazy. And for a period of, I think it was 4 years, it was like you could almost hear the banjos, with all the hunting going on. It was wicked. And then all of a sudden, 1 year, like I'll give you an idea. One fall, just off the swather alone, Dad shot like 18 of the damn things. And it was crazy. They were all over the place. And
that tracks with the conventional wisdom, right?
Right. 1 year, they're just completely done. And I know some farmers that are further east, closer to the South Saskatchewan River, south of Saskatoon, that I haven't talked to anybody there for a couple of years now, specifically about that. But they were saying that they're still holed up in some of the bush areas around the river. So I don't know how completely you can get rid of a population like that, especially such a prolific breeder.
Yeah. Well, let me. I found it here. Let me share the screen. I'll read it to you guys real quick, and then you guys react or don't. So it says, a report from the Sask Crop Insurance Corporation said that it's at the forefront of eradicating wild pigs in the province. A professor who studies the animals said his research shows that wild swine populations are continuing to spread. So Dr. Ryan Brook, a professor at the U of Saskatchewan's College of Agriculture and Bioresources, said the population distribution is larger now than it's ever been in the province. The idea of talking about eradication at this point, that's a fairy tale, he said. That's actually embarrassing and frustrating to hear people talk about eradication in Saskatchewan.
Good for him.
So in a report published on April 28th from the Government Crop Insurance Agency, it explained that wild pig populations are concentrated in 2 small areas of the province. The report did not identify the areas. Even though wild pigs are known for their elusive behavior, they're not the invincible super pigs that many people believe. The animals leave identifiable signs, making it possible to track and manage their populations effectively. Brooke agreed that there are 2 concentrated populations, but said that the animals are continuing to spread across the prairies and into the border. It's interesting listening to like they're at complete opposite odds of what their reality is, right? He says we have real data about the distribution and spread of these pigs, and their range continues to get bigger and bigger every year. Who cares? A wild pig was capped. Yeah, like big deal. Issues, boars escaping from farms. So their report explained from 2017 to 2025, over 1,000 wild boars have been removed from the province through its wild boar control program. Now that's what makes they start to lose me there. Over 8 years, they only killed 1,000 wild boars. That doesn't seem like they're going to be eradicating anything. But it says, without data, this means nothing to me. There's no substance. It's 100% media spin, is what the U of S professor said. Dale Nouse, a manager with SCIC, said the organization came to the conclusion it was approaching wild pig eradication after it saw a decline in the number of wild pigs it was removing. Maybe they just took too long reloading. To verify it, he said that there's an aerial survey that was conducted to confirm the numbers are down. We've done a lot of work over the last number of years, blah, 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 blah. So there's some argument, obviously, between these guys. And some people say that it is, some people say it isn't. Have you ever hunted pig, Travis?
One of my first hog hunt a couple months ago, actually. It was down in Texas.
Lucky man.
Didn't see one hog, but
no way.
Got a couple of whitetail, so that was pretty
that's
interesting.
Good.
They got a lot of game down there, but it's different, of course. A lot warmer down in the south, and the hog problem is they're never going to eradicate them down there. In Canada, being a lot colder, I got to wonder if they're going to reproduce slower or have a harder time moving around. But that report you just read out there sounds suspect.
It does, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
There's questions.
Yeah, I got questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Every hunter, at least in this province, well, maybe not every hunter, but damn close, when CERM does their aerial surveys, and they just completely fuck up the population estimations for whatever species. So you're going to really lean into that method for this hogs.
Yeah.
Come on. And
I mean, politics will always play into it.
For sure it will. For sure.
That's the other thing that I'm questioning is that, like, the crop insurance agency is the ones making this claim. Yeah. So is this insurance agency like harvesting an army of hunters? That's like, that seems a little out of their scope.
That doesn't stop crown corporations in Saskatchewan, man. You know.
Yeah, I imagine SCIC is probably a crown, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, regardless. So let's talk about Silvercore for a minute here, Travis. We already talked about you guys do outfitting. Do you guys only do outfitting in BC?
We don't do outfitting. We're not outfitters.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said at the beginning that you do outfitting.
No, we do training. We do.
It's only the education side.
Only the education, the repair and maintenance, the online training. We've got a club, got the podcast, but no, we don't do outfitting.
Oh, I completely misheard you at the beginning of the show. I thought that was super interesting, and I wanted to ask you about it.
That would be kind of fun.
I guess I should just listen better.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Maybe I should get into outfitting.
You should get into outfitting so we can talk about that.
I think we should.
Right.
I think we should. I'll be back.
Okay, good.
And then you wouldn't go hunting.
Yes,
yeah,
that works.
Exactly.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we just picked up Idaho, so that's kind of cool. We got Idaho sign on for some training. So that's a government one. We got British Columbia. We do the online hunter education training. We're the sole provider for that for BC, so that's a fun one.
You're the sole provider of that.
Yeah, we're the So that got that one about 6-7 years ago. and every few years it comes up for renewal, and keep going through that one. But
That's pretty neat.
yeah, every province is different, but we still have the option for in-person training and online training as well as challenges. So we do the online training side.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys doing the PAL courses as well?
Yeah, I've been doing that since about 1994 when it first came out. So that was when I was in high school. I would do it on the weekends, and summertime shut down, and then became Canada's largest provider for hunter education and firearms training and PAL training, and at least according to the RCMP firearms program. So that was kind of cool. So just took something we really liked and found a way to systemize it and get as many people out there owning firearms, doing it safely, and getting out hunting and doing that safely and properly.
So what level of courses are you guys running? Are we talking mostly hunting courses? Are we talking range courses? Are we talking black badge? Are we talking what kind of stuff are we talking about?
We do the gamut. We don't do black badge, so that'll be an IPSC one. We do have instructors that are qualified and do teach the black badge, but we don't do that through Silvercore. Federal use of force training, we do that. So if you want to be an armed professional and carry a gun for work, we do work with the Ministry of Forests, the Department of Fisheries, a lot of Indigenous training, because they're going to be doing work with government agencies and need to have the same training, but not be trained by the government agency. Yeah, that's
with use of force. What program are you guys teaching?
So that's going to require
for hand to hand. Sorry.
Yeah. So we do hand to hand side, but it's the federal use of force program that also includes the firearms, intermediary, empty hand defense. The legal studies, the verbal judo side, but it's not a specific discipline. It's combatives essentially. So you'll just take what works from different disciplines and what you can apply to the individual, so that they can have some option prior to deadly force. It can't just be stop, okay, bang. Unless it warrants it legally.
And are you doing the hand? I'm interested in the hand-to-hand stuff. Are you doing the hand-to-hand stuff yourself, or you have a course set of instructors? I assume.
Yeah, I did for some time, but I seem to sit behind a desk more often now than. But like I say, been doing it since high school. But a background in jiu-jitsu, arnis, aikido, muay thai. The arnis was always fun. I enjoyed that one. Of course, jiu-jitsu, everyone knows that. But yeah, no, I did that.
So you're talking Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, BJJ.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that for a number of years, and then get other people on board who are passionate and competent, and allows me to be outside and do this.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I figured Chris was going to jump on the use of force.
Well, I assume I can't do that course. I'm just assuming that that's a law enforcement course.
Yeah, it's going to be for people who are going to be vetted as an armed, either law enforcement or somebody who's going to be working as an armed guard, let's say. So we did a lot of armed guard training for like Loomis, G4S, Garda, Securicor as they went through their renditions, Brinks, bonded and licensed, First Island, whole bunch of different companies that require people to come in and be legal to carry a firearm. But when we first started doing our handgun training, I revamped it all. I said, if we do a handgun 1, handgun 2, handgun 3, by the time a student finishes that, they're going to have all of their firearms training that they'd require to meet federal use of force and firearms training guidelines to get an authorization to carry. We've got a combatives course. They finish that. They've got the empty hand defense side, and all they need to do is the legal studies. And so we found a way to have the general public take the same training that an armed professional would. And in fact, by the time they finish the firearms training, they're trained at a higher degree than most general duty police officers, because general duty police officers have a whole bunch of stuff that they have to learn. Firearms is just one portion of it. And it's not necessarily the peak of training that most are doing. So that was one way that we were able to market our courses and work around the requirement of only law enforcement or only people who have already been hired by an armored car company.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So how much range time is included in those sorts of courses? Is it a lot of hands-on or is it a lot of theory?
A fair bit. Well, I mean, it's at least a week on the range. We run the course as short as it is 1 week. Generally, it's a 2 week course that we'd run it through. The week-long course is for people who already have a background and meet certain requirements. But there's the classroom stuff for the firearm side is going to be minimal, and then on the range, you're going to be working that in as you do live fire and doing breaks. Because if you just sit a person down in a classroom and talk about guns, you're going to lose them. If you just put them on the range and have them shoot
Yeah.
guns, they're going to be overwhelmed and tired in no time. So you've got to find a way to be able to have them highly proficient by the end in the most effective way.
Cool. And with the hand-to-hand stuff, is it a lot of training with resistance, or is it a lot of technique training, or?
No, it's actually pretty simple what's required for the federal use of force side.
Okay.
We have courses that go beyond that, but if you just want to get signed off to be, let's say, an armed professional, you really need to know how to hold on to that handgun and not have somebody take it from you.
A
How
lot
to
of
be able
retention.
to,
Okay.
that's right. How to be able to use your hands effectively in a situation that doesn't require lethal force. Because unlike the police, I mean, the police, they've got their officer presence, and then they've got their verbal communication, and they got their OC, and they got their baton, and they got their conductive energy, and all these different options prior to necessarily needing to jump straight to lethal force. Armed professionals, they've got their presence, they've got their empty hand defense, and then bang. There's like there's a big gap in
Yeah.
between. So
Yeah.
they need to have something that's somewhat defensible. It's and you get all different walks of life. You get people who've got a fair bit of background in self-defense and martial arts, and you get people who've never been in a fight in their life. So it's
Right.
from the federal level, it's catered. It's a pretty straightforward program.
That's interesting.
The bigger
I-
part is the legal side, because people need to
Yeah.
know if they're laying hands on or if they're using the firearm. They need to know, are they justified? Can they articulate? Right?
That's got to be difficult in your position because with it being as gray area as it is in the legislation.
Um.
Or do you just toe a
Okay.
specific line with it?
No, it's yes. Yes. There's a yes and no. There's a maybe to that.
Okay.
Um, the laws are somewhat clear as they've been refined through the court system. But when you talk about gray area, there's so much to interpretation. So an individual
Yeah.
really needs to know, like, what do they say after the event? Like, what needs to be met? Do they clearly understand what needs to be met before they can be justifiably using any level of force? And if they can articulate that properly, you and I can be in the exact same situation. And depending on what you say afterwards or I say afterwards, you could be hailed as a hero and I could be having bracelets put on me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's having a strong understanding of what those laws are and what the requirements are plays a big role.
That seems like a extremely valuable course to take. And a great thing to focus on for somebody who's providing those sorts of things.
We've never had an unhappy customer come through them. There's always lots of smiles, and there's, you learn a bit about yourself too, because part of it, there's going to be scenario-based training, and there's going to be some pressure because you're never going to be able to replicate the real thing, but you can put pressure on in different ways and see how people respond. And most people rise to the challenge and love it. And if they don't, then they know kind of where they need to work. If we've done our job right, they're going to be able to rise to the challenge. Because part of that's also a vetting process. If somebody's not qualified, we've had people come on a number of times that don't make it past day one because we don't want to have our name associated with them.
Oh, okay. Yep. That makes a lot of sense. That's very cool. I'm super interested in that whole thing. I own a martial arts school, so the
Very cool.
law enforcement side of it is has always been very interesting to me.
And what do you practice?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and karate.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you'd be well suited for that, and might not be a bad adjunct for your school to look at. We can always talk offline.
Yeah, we toyed with it for a while. We were doing training in Florida and Ontario in Krav Maga for a number of years, and we were offering Krav Maga courses, just as more of a self-defense oriented practice. And we ended up stopping doing it. It wasn't as, how do I put this?
I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear how you say it.
Yeah, it wasn't as useful, helpful
Okay.
as it should have been. We kind of decided that we either needed, like, I think the way you're doing it is the right way to do it. You're not offering martial arts. You're offering very specific self-defense styled training and for certain professions.
Right.
And we kind of came to the same kind of conclusion that if we were going to continue teaching self-defense in this way, especially if we were going to be getting involved in firearms in addition to empty hand, that from a business perspective, we kind of would have needed to focus on that. And, our bread and butter is as a martial arts school. So we ended up just moving away from Krav Maga and focusing more on the sport and lifestyle end of things. But I very much, obviously, self-defense, whether it's weapon or empty hand, is kind of like the, call it the end goal, I guess, for most people that are practicing any sort of hand-to-hand sport. So it's always it's interesting. I don't teach it or offer it anymore, but I'm still very interested in people who do.
I think so. And, to do something properly for the general public, it can be very difficult because there's so many punters out there that aren't willing to spend the money required to have somebody who's properly trained and knowledgeable to give them that information. And anyone can hang a shingle up and start teaching self-defense, and they'll gauge a seminar or a course off of the next person. So if you're able to find a way to market that towards a specific niche, particularly something that will have a certificate or accreditation or a qualification behind it that can have somebody get hired, then that's sort of the route that we looked at, because I think doing the lifestyle martial arts thing is something I looked at in the past too. It's just a different way to do it, but it's difficult to do both.
Yeah, that's exactly the conclusion that we came to. Especially as a business, it's difficult to offer both.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of the
term punters.
Punters.
Was that?
I said I love that term, punters. So kind.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys move on, because otherwise I would just keep talking about hand to hand and waste the rest of Travis's time. So
No waste. Hey, I'm here. There's no bear yet. We're good.
Okay. You go ahead, Mike. And Mike's
Mike's muted.
Mike's not miking.
Mike's not miking anymore.
Now
you are.
With that, there we go.
Okay.
When it comes to developing a course, is like, how long does it actually take for you to say, you know what, this is something we're proud to put our name on? Like, do you run through like a couple of trials and reiterations before it works out that way, or does sometimes you just get it right on the first go?
Oh, you never
Always
get it
read the
right.
comments.
No, you never get it right. There's always growth. You're always as awesome as you make it. You're going to look back at it in a year and say, what was I thinking? It could be so much better now. And it's always an iterative process. So what am I proud? There's an expression, done is better than perfect. So there's obviously a high level that needs to go out so you can be proud about having, and you can put your name behind it, because you don't want to have 1-star, 0-star, whatever. I don't think you can do 0-star, 1-star reviews and everyone upset. But any one of the courses that we have, I look at and I'm very proud when they go out, and then as soon as they're done, I'm like, oh, but I could do this. Oh, I could make video stuff to put it. Oh,
Yeah.
we could do. So it's good to have it out, but it's always an iterative process.
Because I'm looking at some of the courses right now, and I'm seeing like intro to winter steelhead fishing. I never would have thought to do something like that, but I actually want to look into more of that now that I see it.
Yeah, winter seal is a lot of fun. Actually, a friend of mine, April Vokey, she's one of the world's premier fly fishers, and helped her out a while back. She was working with the Meat Eater group, and helped her set up her school and her online training and everything else. So she's put together some of these courses, and we just put on the website to help her essentially. And so we didn't make the that one's actually hers, but she does a good job with them.
So you kind of have like a core group of people that help contribute, or they all work for you?
Just her and then us, the Silvercore team. So we've got a number of instructors who are very passionate, who have who bring up ideas and suggestions, and we and then of course we have people on board who are artistically inclined, who can make these things look pretty, and we can film them and put them out. Yeah, when it comes to what are you proud of, some of the most difficult stuff is doing any of the government training, because what I want to do and what the government wants to see, it can sometimes be two very different things, especially if you get a big committee involved. Everyone's got their input of what they figure should be on the course.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, you just kind of have to take a step back and say, yes, it's good. It meets all the requirements and everybody's happy. Is it something I really want to put my name and say that this is the best? Well, I would do things differently. It's still good, though.
Excellent. Have you seen an accelerated growth in your business in the last couple of years? Or it seems like the firearms, as it keeps wanting to grow, and then we get another ban, but I see a steady growth from people that I've talked to. People that I've never thought of would want to get into hunting are asking me how they get into hunting or owning a firearm.
The motivation behind taking the training changes. So the motivation is going to be, they're going to ban stuff. I better get a license quick so I can buy something and be grandfathered. The motivation is going to be, the world says that we got some global disease. I need to be self-sufficient, and I need to be able to forage and hunt. And although they don't realize the reality of how difficult that would be. Or a lot of times it's the fear in the media. And as much as in Canada, people don't want to say it, people are getting guns because they want to defend themselves. They keep seeing things happen in the cities and reading in the news, and they want to make sure that they can look after themselves and their family. It's just the reality it is. So it seems to be the things that drive growth. And a lot of times things that happen in the States, like Obama, I'm going to ban guns. That was huge for Canada, right? When there isn't strife, you see things kind of lull out a bit.
100%. Yep. So with that idea that, people are taking these courses and that, with the idea that they want to defend their families, let's say, that's a bit of a dangerous topic, especially nowadays, like with, CBC just the other day bragged about how they took down a supposed right-wing media, not a media, but a YouTuber or whatever. But it's this sort of, I don't know whether you can still call it cancel culture anymore or not, but the persecution that we get from things that we say online, whether it's social media or doing this or whatever. And you've heard numerous politicians in recent years saying things like, nobody has the right to defend themselves with a firearm, things like that. So now we talk about exactly those things. It's on people's minds. I wonder where this is all going to go. I think there's a pretty drastic increase in those worries in the general public, and those methods of protecting their families, despite any law. Where do you see that kind of going? Or has any whispers on the breeze kind of come your way?
Yeah, I think people are starting to stand up and speak their mind more often. I think cancel culture is starting to get canceled. Didn't Trump cancel it? I thought he said he canceled it.
What
It's on the
hasn't Trump
docket
canceled?
anyway. God love him.
You can defend yourself. I mean, like, you own a martial arts studio. You know that. You know the laws all behind it. You are allowed to use, there is justifiable deadly force. And it's not an evil thing to
Prove
say.
that, though. That's
There, there's and the culture is changing in Canada, and I think it's changing because of the violence that you're seeing in the news so often. And people are like, you know what? I'd rather be judged by, what is it, judged by 12 and carried by 6, or when the police are second. What?
Yeah.
What is it when
When you
police
need
are-
help now, police are only 20 minutes away or whatever.
Right, exactly.
When seconds count,
When
help is
seconds count,
minutes away.
police are minutes away. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Thank you. But you are actually allowed to defend yourself, and it is becoming talked about. It used to be whispered. Like back in the day, it's like, oh, I'm getting my gun, and I can't tell anybody this is what I want to use it for. And instructors will say, if you say that, I'm not putting your paperwork through.
Right.
Mhm.
There is a legal way to do it. And I think rather than not talking about it, maybe it's better that we fully, truly understand what those repercussions are, right? Because there's going to be societal repercussions, there's going to be legal repercussions, there's going to be psychological, emotional repercussions. Are you ready for it ahead of time? It's not like what you see on TV. And if you are, and you're properly prepared, those are the individuals that quite often find they don't find themselves in that situation. Some people are going to be closer to that situation based on proxemics, or they're going to be their line of work. We had, and I'm trying to remember his name, DeVarts, jeweler, Dennis Galloway, I want to say. It's going back a little bit, but it was, he had a couple of people come into his jewelry store on the island and rob him. And he was a gun collector, and his jewelry store, he's got safes, he's also got a gun. And shot one of them. I'm trying to remember, killed him, paralyzed him. Did he shoot them both? I don't quite remember. But that was sort of the beginning that I saw over in British Columbia. So he came through, did some training with us, and was actually allowed to have the firearms. They said it was justifiable force that was used. Of course, he went through a bit of the rigmarole through the court system, but it also opened up the door for, well, it's not just armored car guards. You could be a guard guarding any sort of cash or negotiable. I think it's specifically worded your primary activity is a transport of cash or negotiables. And we've seen stamp collectors come on through who are taking stamps, people who move gold. And we're dealing with somebody right now who's he's a bodyguard. And he says, well, I don't know, these guys get kidnapped and that's a negotiable, right? So I see
it's
I
a
see the
commodity
conversation changing.
Yeah.
I also
I
see
think part of the
Go ahead,
conversation is that we don't want to see as being called American, which there's like a weird racial thing to it. It's like, I don't want to be referred to as an American. Like, there's other countries in the world that allow you to carry a firearm for defense. Not just the US, as much as everyone loves to think that.
That's an odd human thing. Like, I don't want to be called this. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
Like I don't understand that.
I am me.
You are what you are. Yeah. Right. I don't know. Actions make the man, not the fucking locale.
100%. 100%. Yeah, and the more you study that, the more you learn, the more you just, your situational awareness increases. You're able to not put yourself in these dangerous, they say you don't want to fall, don't walk in slippery places, right? But now you can properly identify it and you understand the process. And I mean, there's a lot of value to knowing how to defend yourself. And most people, they get into it. So a lot of people get into it because maybe they got beat up. Maybe they had a rough encounter. And the more they get into it, the more they don't find themselves in any situation like that in the future.
Right,
did they waste their money? No. Avoidance, mitigation is the best way to approach this.
It is funny how that happens. The more training you do in that sort of stuff, the less you seem to find yourself in those types of situations.
Totally. Totally.
I find it fascinating also that the people that are looked upon more favorably for carrying a weapon are those protecting a commodity,
Right.
but those protecting the average human life, no, can't do that. So
Yeah.
where does that put the regular people's life on the list of important things?
So that's
Isn't
one
that
of the
something?
ways you can actually get an authorization to carry if your life or life of the third party that you're responsible for is in
Hmm.
imminent danger of death or grievous bodily harm. We worked a number of years ago. It was Hunter's Sporting Goods in Surrey. They're not around anymore, but there's a new gun store in there, international, in their location. And we were working with one of the owners and put him through a training program because there was gun stores that were getting robbed, and he wanted to protect his life. And they made it pretty far down the process. Firearms program said, "Look, you're the furthest anyone's made it." The last piece of the puzzle that they wanted from them was to get a signed letter from the chief of police in their area saying that police protection was not adequate. Not just a
Oh,
police officer, but it's got to be from the chief of police. Well, no chief of police is going to say that. But again,
how
my seconds
dare
count.
you?
The
Yeah,
police are minutes away.
Hmm.
Uh,
right.
so there is a legal framework that allows for it. It's a tad illusory. The number of people who actually get these things are typically people who haven't had any training. I've heard, and it's all mostly anecdotal,
Oh,
but like judges have threats on the life. Here, carry a gun for a bit.
Yeah.
Um,
sure, yeah.
but part of what I try to do is educate people and allow people to then advocate for themselves. I think quite often in the gun community, we're all looking for a savior. We're looking for an organization that can, what have you done for me so far? I gave you some money, now what, right? Gun orgs, great. Play a specific role. But more than anything, I think that people should be educated and recognize the level of agency each and every one of us has in order to affect positive change. An example on that one would be, um, oh, he's going to kill me. Why is his name slipping? It'll come to me in a second. But Ontario, they said you got to belong to a gun club or a range in order to get an authorization to transport.
Mm-hmm.
And Bolofsky. Anyways, he says, I belong to the Silvercore Club. They said, well, no, you got to belong to a club in our province. He said, well, Silvercore is a federal club. They got club. They're all across Canada.
Oh,
Oh, so anyways, and I started the Silvercore Club back in the day because they brought in the you got to belong to a gun club or range. And I was talking with our local firearms office, and I said, I've read the act, I've read the regulations. You guys don't have the authority to do this, right? And he says,
Mm-hmm.
well, hold on, it's the policy. I said, well, policy is untenable. This is it's regulation or it's legislation. That policy doesn't fall into that. I'm going to take you to court. And so I talked to a lawyer. And I started putting some money together to go take this to court. And a firearms officer pulls me aside and says, Trav, we're the federal government. We're going to hang this up in the courts for years. You're never going to win. It says gun club or range. Why don't you just start a gun club? Like, well, what do you mean? So I did. So I started a gun club. And I think it was $5. $5 for people to join. I'm like, there you go. It didn't even cover the legal fees. I put the money I was going to put towards a
right.
lawyer for the fight. And I said, can you put this and set this club up properly and get things together? And then I think it went up to $10. It was done as a loss leader because it carried the Silvercore name. I thought this is good publicity, and it's me giving back to the firearms community, and it's going to allow people to go out there to do their thing. The firearms program, by and large, loved it because now people are complying with their policy. And until it was in Ontario, and they denied Bolofsky. Bolofsky's called me up, and I said, "Not a problem. I'll help you out. Let's see what we can do." And he's a sharp cookie, an accountant by trade, and he took it to court. And the judge said to their CFO, Chris Wyatt at the time, you got to give him his license. And so it's no problem. They left. Chris Wyatt then offline out of court says, not a problem, I'll give you your license as long as you get a gun club or range membership in our province. And Pulowski says, that's completely opposite of what
did we just go through here?
Right. Yeah. And so he took it back to court and he lost on appeal. However, the province didn't want that pushed further and they removed the requirement. One individual in that province was able to remove that requirement. And I've worked with every single province and territory. And I said, look, if we could get rid of the requirement to have this together, like the value proposition for the Silvercore Club shouldn't be a workaround for a firearms program policy, right? That's not what I want my name behind, right? I'm doing this to get people out there, and I will help anyone out there have it removed from their province. So Ontario was a good win. Alberta started taking the lead. But yeah, that's a big long-winded way of talking about educating and personal agency back to the use of force and firearms training stuff.
I wonder if people just think like, I can't do that. I'm only me. And I think we need to break that attitude from ourselves.
Well, everyone says that.
It's most.
Yeah. Oh, you can do it. You've got a podcast. You have a voice, right?
Right.
You're on Ballistically Speaking. Of course, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. We can do anything.
It's your job or whatever it might be. Anyone can do it. They just, it's just a matter of effort of putting it in. And when they start seeing other people doing it, and I think what really needs to happen is you have to educate the civil servants. So if there's an easy path for them to go through and get their checks and balances, they've done their job. And we've done that with the ATT thing. Authorizations to carry, I held close to my chest for a very long time. I've had the secret sauce. I know how to get somebody their authorization to carry. Not a problem. I didn't want to piss off probably shouldn't swear. I didn't want to annoy.
Oh, you can swear. It's okay.
Oh, and don't worry.
Too late.
I didn't want to annoy the firearms program and have them change their policy and change their rules. And so I'm like, well, people come in, if they meet requirements, we're working together and I can get them through. I've recently realized that mindset is probably not the best served. And what would be better is to systemize it all across the board. And we had Rachel Attila. She reached out. She's working with the National Firearms Association. She's a guide and a rancher and an online social media personality. And she'd been working with the NFA for 4 years to get her ATC. And they said, why don't you talk to Trav? So she talked with me, says, Trav, what are you going to charge? I said, well, let me ask you some questions. Okay, tell you what, Rachel, nothing. I'll get you your ATC with you. I'll go show you the paint by numbers of what needs to happen. If you'll agree to doing a podcast with me on this, because then we can share what we did with everybody else and they can paint by those same numbers. And on top of that, I also created a 30-something page document for the NFA, which you can download for free. And it shows you step by step on how to do this.
Right. Is it on the NFA site?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's free. Just I told the NFA to use it as lead generation. Just use it, get an email address, give it away for free. Put my name, put Rachel's name on there. And the thinking process behind that was, well, Rachel can say things that I can't say. I'm 6'6", 250 pounds, bald with a beard and firearms instructor, use of force instructor. What do you mean you're scared? I spend time outside in the wild. What do you mean you can't carry a rifle or shotgun, right? Rachel can come across very differently than what I can do. And she has a 100% legitimate usage case. And I figured it would play into the perception better as well. So what that's done is given people a roadmap now. Anyone can follow it. You want an ATC? Go get it. There's a roadmap. If you meet the criteria, and a lot of people do, you want to buy a handgun? You can. I know there's a handgun freeze on, but not if you need it for work. Got an ATC for work. So how many people are taking me up on this? Not much. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but...
Can ask. Yeah.
So what is your... what is your I want to ask what is your ultimate goal with this, but I want to ask it in a more grand way, and for some reason the words aren't coming to me. What is your what is
What's my guiding light? What's my North Star?
what's your guiding light? What's the end of the road in terms of ATCs with Canada? Like what's the end? When would you consider your goal with ATCs accomplished?
Well, I don't like being pushed around, and I don't like being told that you can't do something that is perfectly legal to do. What I'd like to see is it become systemized. Dave Tomlinson, who started the NFA back in the day, did something similar with ATTs. So you'd have an authorization to transport that you apply for. It's 1, 2, or 3 years. What do you want? He says, well, put down 3 years. They give you the option, pick the longest one. Where are you transporting it to? Well, I belong to this club, so I'll put down that club. No, you write down all approved gun clubs and ranges. When are you going to transport it? Well, I get off work at 5 and the range closes at 10. So between 5, let's say 5 and 11, I'll be transporting it. No, 2400 to 2400. And he just created this template, which then became the norm. And the civil servants working in the firearms program, eventually, they just issued it to you. Here's your 3-year ATT. It's good all the time. All approved gun clubs and ranges, all border crossing, all gun shows. And so that would be my process, to make it easy for a civil servant, back them into corner, give them a way out to do what's they legally ought to be doing anyways, because there's an us against them mentality that I find with the firearms program as well as with the firearms community. And if you can systemize it and remove that us against them, it's just a matter of checking these boxes. Do you meet the criteria? Great, you got it. Do you not? Okay, when you meet it, you can get it. That's sort of my end goal.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you don't necessarily have any goals of,
Monetary?
No, like everybody in Canada carrying like that. That's not necessarily your aim.
No, and I don't think everybody in Canada should carry. Just like I don't think everybody should have a firearms license. I mean, there's people who don't win at life, right? It's just, there's a level of responsibility and maturity that's required to go along with these things. I'm not against having some sort of vetting process. That vetting process just shouldn't be illusory, and it shouldn't be so politically motivated. I mean, it's it's crazy that somebody can be out hunting in remote wilderness areas in BC, let's say with a bow, I've got a rifle, and not have the ability to protect themselves with a handgun, let's say, in bear country. Like the Americans look at it like, what the heck, right? And it is crazy. Why is transporting $100 more important? It's not the money that you're guarding, it's the life. But why is my life situation out in the wild here not meet that criteria?
Yeah.
Just give me one moment. I'm going to turn on another battery on this. I did my math, and
damn it! I thought maybe a bear was coming along.
Yeah, I thought for a second there. Oh, it's happening! It's happening!
I wish.
Yeah. Well, we all start screaming and scare away the bear. Go ahead. You can change your battery out there, Travis.
Yeah, I just did it. I just flicked it on. I got this little thing on Amazon. It's 2 DeWalt batteries I got plugged into it.
Oh, neat. Okay. Well, that was a quick switch. Okay. That the whole idea is super interesting to me. It's funny, and we've been kind of plugging into the gun community, at least through the podcast for the last. What do you think, Kurt? 5-6 years?
Yeah, it's got to be
in different iterations.
5 years, I guess. Yeah.
But there's still, every single time we talk to somebody, there's so many things that I had no idea was going on. I had no idea that you had, and the NFA had this ATC guide. I didn't know anything about that whole process. I'm going to check it out. It's funny. I had a conversation just maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago with a friend of mine. It's my buddy, my hunting buddy. He owns the property, or his father owns the property that we hunt on. And we were just talking the other day about how his dad's no longer carrying his Enfield when he's out in the middle of nowhere, and fixing fences and digging posts and that sort of stuff. And he's now carrying a 30-30 Henry lever gun just because it's more maneuverable for him than the old Henry was. Sure. And his dad was complaining about how he'd very much prefer to carry the Walther pistol that he owns, but he can't. And he was saying, I tried a number of years ago to get an ATC. They've got over like 900 some odd acres. And most of it is just, essentially preserve land. But you still have fences that need to be fixed, and he's still in the middle of nowhere on a regular basis. And, I'm thinking like, well, I'm going to get that guide that you've got written there and hand that to him and see what, because how does a guy like him not meet the criteria?
Does he generate any revenue from his property?
He does ranching. Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
He meets
that is a good criteria.
That's a good criteria because the Firearms Act will say working in a remote wilderness area. I could say I'm working on my cabin, right? Well, no, that's, you gotta be working. Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. There's a lot of things that can qualify as working. And I'm not advocating for people to lie and to come across and say, I'm doing this for work. Look at I'm a photographer now. I took a picture. I always got my iPhone with me, right? Like if you're actually doing something and working, can you articulate it? Make it easy for it to not all fall apart on you. Make it easy for the civil servant just to check it off. If he's a rancher and he's out there working, I don't know how you said he's getting older.
He's in his early 60s now. Yeah.
Yeah. Carrying fence posts, shovels, all the other equipment and a firearm. I mean, like when you're working, you're going to be putting that gun down. But if it's on your hip, it's with you.
That's what he was talking about 15 or so, maybe even 20 years ago now, however long ago it was. He was talking about when he was carrying the Enfield, and he always had to lean it up on the post. And then he would always try to get 2 or 3 posts done before going back and picking up the rifle and then leaning it on the next post. And one time he was working on the post, and the Enfield was 1 post away, which is what, I don't know what it is, 8, 12 feet, however much it is. I don't do posts. I'm not the professional here.
20.
20, there you go, whatever. But a black bear started charging at him, and he would have had to run towards the black bear to get to his rifle. Yeah. And his decision was to run the opposite direction and scramble up a tree, and he was defenseless, despite the fact that he had a firearm. He was defenseless just because of the direction that the bear came at him from.
I mean, when you think about the rationale behind it to begin with, it's utterly ridiculous. Like, why should a handgun have all these extra rules that surround it? Because it's smaller, it's not as powerful as a rifle, it'll do less damage. Right. You can conceal larger firearms, long guns. If you're going to do something illegal with it, you can chop a long gun down too. I mean, it's
if you're doing it illegal, you can do it illegal. Especially in Saskatchewan. I mean, that's the majority of what shows up. It's all chopped off, 22s and shotguns, and they chop the stock off, they chop the barrel off, and
disgusting things. Yeah.
Wrap them in tape and call
it exactly. Yeah. I mean, they look like shit, but you can conceal them in whatever you want, especially considering that we wear jackets for 7 months out of the year.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. Our friend 1ABNT. Sorry.
1AB's everywhere.
Yeah,
he's always on here.
One-armed bandit is what I read that as.
Right.
We have one arm qualify for an ATC. Yes, and I've trained people with one arm to shoot and get their ATC. I wish I knew what his real name was because he's a big supporter. I tried tracking him down. I spent a little bit of time trying to see who he was, but he's hidden somewhere. Mr. One-Armed Bandit.
The gray man.
He is the
Right.
gray man. But you're right. He is also everywhere. I've
Yeah.
seen him on so many just unrelated social media things and YouTube things that he comments on. And I just happen to stumble upon his comments. And I'm not even on any account that is connected to our podcast. And I still find him all over the place. He was commenting on, what's the hell's the name of his channel now? Sorry guys, I'm going to take a second here to get this now because he's worth a plug because he's
Is
What's
it
he
gun
do for work?
related?
Is he
he's a retired JTF2 assaulter.
Sean Collective?
No,
I know he took a lot of heat for on a gun nuts thread about the R18.
who took a lot of what?
Yeah, 1AB. I'm sure it was
Did
him because
One
he
It's
was doing some testing.
it's Randy Turner that I'm thinking about.
Okay.
Direct Action Combat Performance is his YouTube
Oh,
channel.
okay.
And I just 1AB was commenting on it. Some of the videos that I was watching of Randy's there.
Well,
Anyway, neither here nor there. 1AB is just everywhere.
One Arm Bandit, thank
Let's
you
just
very
call him
much
Carl.
for thank you very much for posting Silvercore podcast stuff and sharing that around. I see it and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, he's a pretty good dude.
Yeah, he's here all the time.
Where the heck were we? ATCs. Oh my goodness. Hey, I'm gonna bring this up to his father, see if we can get him an ATC. I think that would be super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to know your perspective, Travis, going back just a little bit about the general population's ability to carry. This has come up several times before, and I have what I believe is a pretty unpopular opinion. My position is I don't feel there are a lot of Canadians that sort of have the maturity, for lack of a better way to put it, I guess, to carry every day. And my argument is well, the Americans do it all the time. That's fine, but it's been that way for generations. And quite
It's a
likely a
cultural
lot of
thing.
people,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure. Quite likely a lot of the people that do carry all the time or as much as possible um, have learned that from from being young, from that time they were a kid
Mm-hmm.
with their parents. And that I don't, and you drive through any city here and watch people and with the road rage and all that kind of stuff. Do you think, generally speaking, uh, we have the maturity to control ourselves in situations like that? This is something that I worry about in that scenario. People flying off the handle and things like that. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I guess
I'm
another way to look at that would be firearms license holders. Do they have the maturity to not use those firearms when they get mad at somebody and maybe take them to work or take them out on? And I'd say the statistics would say yes. And there is people in
100%.
there.
Yeah.
They are firearms owners are more likely to walk away from something for fear of losing their ability to
This is very
own
true.
these firearms and to have this privilege. There's always going to be times when people do stupid things, and you're never going to get around that. But it would be the same as saying, do we have the ability, the maturity to drive a vehicle and not drive somebody else off the road? I think people will do it from time to time, but by and large, most people don't commit vehicular manslaughter. They could.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
So,
it's all
they
about
don't.
intent.
yeah.
Well,
This is the argument that gets left out of all of these conversations, especially the political ones, is the intent. I don't give a fuck about the tool. It's the intent by the operator of
That's right.
whatever tool that they turn into a weapon.
I think some people's concern is the fact that a firearm has a propensity for doing more damage than, let's say, a crowbar or the tire iron that you leave in the back of the truck. And so they say,
Yeah.
based on the fact that this can cause so much more damage, look at what somebody can do with a firearm. They can go like Portapique, or Montreal Massacre, and they can do these terrible things. People tend to gloss over what Canada's largest massacre was, and that wasn't firearms related. A couple guys got kicked out of I think it was a Bluebird Cafe. They're drunk, or Bluebird Club, whatever it was, and got some gas at a gas station, threw it down the stairs, lit it on fire. I mean, not to try and plant seeds in people's head, but if you have ill intent, there's a lot of ways to do way more damage than with a firearm.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Well, even in Portapique, there was a percentage of the people that crazy bastard killed by lighting their homes on fire.
Right.
Well, it depends on who you ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Wasn't there one
RCMP still
person there that actually
maintain,
shot
don't they?
back?
I don't know about anybody shooting back. I just remember that them reporting that out of 21 dead, including the shooter, there was like 6 or 8 were burned inside their homes. Like
I believe the story that I heard was he came to the guy's door and the guy in the house said, "I have a gun, back off," and he left him alone. I believe is the story that I heard.
Oh, really? And he didn't light his house on fire?
No.
Oh,
well, he threatened to shoot him essentially.
Yeah. But I mean, well, to your point though, Travis, some of the I always am like hesitant to say the worst or one of the worst, but there's been 2 very prominent mass murders in the last, I think it was probably 8 or 10 years, however long it's been. And there was the incel driver in the white van in Toronto that killed 9 people. And just recently there was the guy at the Filipino festival. How many did he end up? Was it 13? 13 or 14
the final number was.
Yeah, whatever the final number was. But I mean, it was both of those incidents killed more people than a large number of shootings.
That's it.
And like exactly to your point, how many people drive every day, and people could use them to commit vehicular manslaughter. What stops most people from doing them? Well, it is a sense of the reality that most people have either some sense of morality or the fear of getting caught breaking the law is the deterrent.
Sure.
But still, for the people who those things aren't deterrents for, they can still cause massive damage with one of the most common tools available that is a privilege, but is treated like a right in this country, and is almost recognized as a right in this. In fact, a lot of people do talk about it as a right, especially when talking about new immigrants in the country and the right to have a driver's license and things like that. We talk about it like it's a right. And they can cause massive amounts of damage, especially if you take that white van and you put fertilizer in the back of it. And what was the building that Timothy McVeigh did that? Oh, yeah,
Oklahoma.
it was in Oklahoma. Yeah, I forget the name of it. Was it the ATF building or FBI, something like
One
that?
of the 2.
But I mean, there's massive ways to cause damage if that's how you're inclined. But the reality is that thankfully, 99.9% of our population isn't wired that way.
That's right. I grow concerned when people want to limit somebody's rights based on what they may do, especially when it's so emotionally charged or politically motivated.
Yeah.
But even the hunting community is guilty of that, because we'll say all you need to hunt with is insert firearm here. And I hate that, having traveled across Canada, like all you need is a 30-30. Well, yes, if you're in Ontario and you're only shooting 30 yards, that's all you need. Out here, if you're 30 yards, the deer can see everything that's going on. You're at least a couple hundred yards away sometimes. And the gun community communicates by telegraph, in my opinion. So that bugs me so much.
Yeah, it's a bit of a silly argument. I mean, I think that vehicles are a really good analog when discussing firearms, because when it comes right down to it, they're both property. And they're both property that comes along with a tremendous amount of responsibility. And you can make the same argument. Well, we don't need anything more than a Toyota Corolla. So why aren't we all limited to Toyota Corollas? So why can I go out on the street and buy a McLaren? Or why can I go out on the street and buy a 1-ton or an F-350 cube van, a Ford Transit, whatever, that can cause massive amounts of damage to people just by driving through a street parade? It's the same argument, which is exactly what you mentioned. My rights shouldn't be limited by the actions of others.
Right.
It's not emotionally.
We've got a really good wind tunnel going here. It's not called a wind tunnel; it's called a sounding board. We're bouncing off each other's sounding boards pretty good here.
Echo chamber.
Echo chamber. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh, right.
Holy cow!
Right.
Wind tunnels, soundboards, echo chambers—they're all synonyms, right?
Sure.
The
wind tunnel. Like
Travis, let's wind this down here. Can you pick one thing that you think everyone, not just Canada, that everyone should know that they don't know that you do?
I don't know much. I don't know much when it comes to things.
Well, that's nice of you that you're humble, but we also know that that's not necessarily the case.
It probably just echo back to what I was saying before, was the amount of personal agency that every individual has is way more than what most people would give themselves credit for. Quit abrogating control onto a third party to fight for you, to make things right for you. It's not difficult. It's just knowing the path. Surround yourself with others that have walked the path and know that path. Use AI, listen to Ballistically Speaking, listen to people that you find will point you in the right direction, and then take that step yourself and actually do something. I think that would be the big takeaway. I don't know if that's something people don't know, but that's something that I do try to impart in people.
Even if they do know, it's probably good for people to hear.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Travis, plug yourself, plug Silvercore, plug anything you want in the next several minutes. Go.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, go. Say something funny. Go.
Yeah. I want you to say something profound now, Travis. The most profound thing. Right. No. Yeah, no, just
here we go.
Where can people find Silvercore? Where can people find you? Where can they find the podcast? Just run through the whole thing.
Sure. Silvercore.ca is the website. The club, the Silvercore Club, you get deep discounts from a ton of different industry partners. You get insurance. You get the benefit of the whole ATT thing as well. You get private members podcast. A lot of people don't know about that one. We've got the Silvercore podcast, comes out every 2 weeks. We've got a private members podcast that comes out at least once a week, if not more. And that's a pretty cool one. You can check out the online training we do. We have some kit that we sell, but we've got a YouTube channel, Instagram. In the end, I don't know. We've got a community of people. I think we got over 100,000 people on our newsletter list that they like to be outside. They like to do similar things to what you and I like to do. And for those who are new to it, that want to deepen their connection with the natural environment, well, we're a place we can help point you in the right direction.
Fantastic. Did you just freeze? Oh, you just froze there for a sec. That's okay. You're back. Yeah, you're good now. You made it the whole podcast, and just right at the end there, now you're chopping up.
He still has a better connection than what I do when I'm in camp, though.
Well, I was thinking you got to get yourself a Starlink for when you're on site.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Awesome, Travis. Thank you for joining us. It was really great talking to you. I really quickly would like to let everybody know if if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/BS podcast. You can find us on our website, bspodcast.ca. We are on YouTube at BS_podcast. And you can email us at info@bspodcast.ca. A massive thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a show in the first place. We're talking about Shane and Steve, Miles, Carrie and Cappy, Duncan and Rob, Phil Odell, Doug and Niza, Vanya and Carly, Oscar and J.R. Cox. Thank you all an immeasurable amount. And again, thank you, Travis, for joining us again today. Or not again, but thank you for joining us at all today. Good luck on the rest of the hunt. And I hope you and your friend that you're out there with have a great rest of your hunt.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Guys, who do we have next week?
I believe British muzzleloaders.
Oh yeah, the muzzleloaders. Yeah, join us next week for all your muzzleloading needs. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. We will see everybody next week. Bye-bye.
Because I have a shotgun and rifle that I use for, and 22 gauge that I use for ptarmigan, moose, and black bear.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS. Ballistically speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.